the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock, and it is time for the Ron and Brian podcast to go live once again, this time for episode 326. Joining me, world traveler renowned Brian. Brian, how the hell are you tonight, sir?
I have, how am I doing? Just honestly, I'm happy to see your face again. It feels like forever since I got to sit in a room all by myself, staring at a computer monitor with your face on it. I'll tell you, the only thing that is better than that is sitting in the same room as you, which I had the pleasure of doing earlier this weekend. All excited.
And we'll talk about that. Janelle hoping I have good Wi-Fi in my hotel room. So far, so good. I am on the road this week, but listen, I think as 51% owner of this podcast, as champion, I think it is important to continue to do these live podcasts, even when travel may make it inconvenient. Other individuals that are part of this podcast may not feel the same way, but I am here with you and ready to get things going. And how do we normally get things going? Well, that's right, folks. It's with our usual drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Sláinte.
Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian, you were going drink free the last couple of episodes as you healed from your various medical conditions. Have you brought alcohol back to the table today?
Oh, yes. Yes. I wanted to introduce you, Ron, to this really great beer that I had yesterday. It's from a brewery called Hitachino Nest. This is their white ale. If you ever get a chance to sample it, Ron, I'm going to recommend it to you. It is just delicious here. Look at that look at that hue. You know, this is what I like. This is the type of beer I like, Ron. So you are looking at the white ale from Hitachino Nest. This is a refreshing, mildly hopped Belgium and American-inspired beer with complex tart flavors of coriander, orange peel, and nutmeg. It's a combination of wit and wild ale. This brew has won gold medals at several beer competitions in the US and my second home, the UK. Beer Advocate gives it a score of 91. I'm thinking this may actually be an even higher score coming from BP.
Well, take a sip of a beer that I gave to you, but that's all right. I thank you for the recommendation. What do you think?
No, I think it's delicious.
Great.
I was fortunate enough to have one in the what I like to call, the room where the magic happens, known as your kitchen. I knocked it out, and you are, people think of you as champion. People think of you as a 51% owner of this podcast, but people fail too often to remember you for your generosity. I showed up to your house. As I'm walking out the door, a 4-pack of this beer is politely slid into a bag for me. Not a lot of people would do that for a beer that they love, and I have you to thank for it. Hitachino beer, Hitachino Nest, white ale. People, this is delicious. Cheers to you, Ron. What are you working on this week?
So I took a page out of your book this week, Brian. We had quite a few beers yesterday at Broken Goblet's Hoppy Halloween 10. So I'm going with just some good old water for this weekend. Hydrate. It is, of course, Liquid Death sparkling water, one of my favorites. I'm not usually a seltzer kind of guy, but
Sure.
there's just something about this that just hits different, Brian. That's Liquid Death. Murder your thirst.
There we go. There we go. Now they make several different liquid deaths, don't they?
They do. They've got they've got a still water, and then they've got a bunch of flavors. They've got a lime flavored and agave one. I think they've got an Arnold Palmer. Not a huge fan of their flavored waters, but I do like and the still water is good. I just, for whatever reason, that sparkling water just tickles me where I like it.
Mm.
Hey,
Back to your throat.
Yep,
Throat.
right in the back, right in the big tippity top back. All right, folks, let's keep this rolling along. It's time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
I'm gonna. This could be somewhat inappropriate. So
Okay.
not inappropriate. Let me restate that. This could go off the rails, but I've thought about it. I'm going to stick with it. On my flight from the US to the UK last week, I was sitting in economy. I thought we had economy premium, but it didn't feel that way. And the lady takes the window seat because she has informed me that the middle seat has actually more leg room because of the curvature of the plane.
Okay.
Not sure that's true, but
But
it
you
didn't
bought it.
feel like there was a lot of leg room. Okay, so now the seat, the aisle seat, and keep in mind the plane is fully booked, overbooked. So the people at the ticket desk have already said we're not changing your seats. I was not really happy with where we were. Anyway, so there's a seat in the aisle next to me, which is available. That is a pillow about to be whacked on my head. So as people are coming down the aisle, and I see a very large person coming down the aisle, and I think to myself, I feel sorry for whoever has to sit next to that person. Because I was just like, they're not fitting in this economy seat. There's no way. Listen, you even commented yesterday when we were at Broken Goblin. I have, very thin hips. My hips, they're not birthing hips. That's
Right.
I was not made for that. So, and I'm just, barely making it into these seats. It's not a wide chair, but I'm watching this big person walking down. Of course, they stop in my row, put their stuff down on the chair next to me. This is going to be their seat. Now I realize I am feeling sorry for myself. So this person sits down next to me, and it became very clear instantly that I was losing the armrest. There was no way that this person was not taking the armrest. I like to think of myself as, as just an alpha male.
Sure.
Nope. Immediately went beta cucked. Let this person take the armrest. This is my beef. Not the fact that they were big, not the fact that they were a big person, but you would think that you lean into the aisle over the course of the flight so as to allow a little bit more space. This person, because they didn't, I guess, want to be bumped into as people passed in the aisle, this person leaned the opposite way into me. I don't know what airplane etiquette is in situations like this, but it was an uncomfortable 7 hours as we flew over the pond because they kept leaning into me. Now, keep in mind, they've already taken the armrest. Okay,
Sure.
That's fine.
Why take some of your seat as well?
Now you're taking my seat too. Because keep in mind, every time somebody would pass, it's just like bumping into me. That is my beef of the week. Ruined a 6-hour flight, 7, maybe 8. It felt I got very little sleep because This dude's meat, just like a fucking ham hock of an arm, was right into me the whole time.
Like, I don't know about you. Like, I'm very, like, when I'm on an airplane and I'm sitting next to people I'm not traveling with,
Sure.
like, and we're all crammed in there. Like, I'm very hypersensitive about me encroaching on those people's space, like to the point where I make myself uncomfortable. I like pull my arms in because I'm like,
you make yourself small. You make yourself small.
Make yourself small,
Yeah.
like a petite little flower.
Now, Janelle says, why didn't you say anything? This is my problem. I don't know what to say because I know the words that would come out of my mouth in that moment are not going to make the situation better. And when those situations pop up where I sit there, I'm like, I lack the tact in that moment to sit there and politely ask this person. All my thoughts in that moment are, dude, move the fuck over. You got a whole aisle on, like, and that's not going to make the situation better. It's not going to. So instead of making a situation worse, my way of handling was not to say anything. And I just sat there like a little bitch.
Okay. That's how you have to do it sometimes.
Absolutely.
I mean, would it have been okay to like lean over and be like, excuse me, I don't know if you realize, but you're a little bit encroaching on my space.
See, this is the problem. In that moment, I don't have that thought. If those words had popped into my brain, I would have said that. But those were not those words. The way you just very politely and succinctly was able to like put that thought together, that thought does not entering my brain. And I know because the thoughts that are going to probably offend this person, piss them off, at which point now I have another 4 hours sitting next to this person. So I just shut up the whole time.
As Janelle says, Brian the Cuck, which a lot of people don't realize that was your DJ name in college.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, that's still my nickname.
Hey-o.
Ron?
Yes.
What's bothering you?
My I guess my body and my advanced age is bothering me today, Brian, because we went to BGOB, to Broken Goblet, one of our favorite places, for Happy Halloween. Great party again. And then we made, I think was the mistake was going out after the beer festival was over, going to another brewery closer to Casa de Bailey, to watch the Yankees game. And then, we were feeling it when we woke up this morning. It was, and I even remembered to take some Advil before I went to bed last night. And we weren't up late.
No.
We got home at like 10 o'clock, went right to bed. Like,
didn't even see the end of the Yankee game. So I woke up this morning at like 7 and had to check my phone to see if they had won or not.
Yeah. But woke up this morning 7:30-ish, and just every ounce of my being ached from all the alcohol that was drank. Again, great time, but just we were talking about this morning how we used to be able to do that like all weekend and bounce back and work and everything else. It hurts, Brian. It feels like we need to take better care of ourselves.
It's hard when you're at Broken Goblet for this beer festival because there are so many different options of great beers. You're having you're with very good people. You're having a very good time, and the drinks are flowing. It's hard to have the wherewithal in that moment to just act responsibly, I think is really the right word.
Clearly, we were not able to do so.
No, not at all.
Let's hop into something that people wait all week for, because this is how they supplement their income. This is how they make ends meet in Joe Biden's America. It's time for our NFL Locks of the Week.
Locks.
So we get feedback from time to time. We get notes Brian, we get notes from people who watch the show regularly, and they feel like we pat ourselves on the back too often about our perfection. They say we fluff each other. If you're familiar
Yes.
with the porn industry, fluffing is a term. I would not encourage you to Google it.
Mhm.
But so we're not going to pat ourselves on the back. Brian and I both were perfect at 2-0 again last weekend, running it to perfection still. So we are just going to give you our locks for next weekend, week 8 of the NFL season. See, we can listen, we can learn, we can do the work. And the work is so important, Brian. Do the work because the work is so important.
Sure.
Brian, speaking of work, who are your locks of the week for next weekend?
Week 8 of the NFL season. It is just a magical time. We are starting to see the cream rising. The non-cream, I'm not really sure what the milk, the sour milk float to the bottom. You're right there?
I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah, why?
Commanders -1.5 over the Bears. I think we are watching a new Washington football team emerge out of the shambles that has been that franchise for the past years. Also, I am liking Miami Dolphins, not because they're in Florida, but because they're playing the Arizona Cardinals. Early line is 3.5. If you can still get it, jump on that line, people. Ron, who do you have?
All right. I like a couple of road favorites next week. Minnesota suffered their first loss of the season this week, but I see them bouncing back next week, -3 at the LA Rams. Patriots, a soft team, as one of their players mentioned today. New York Giants, who we rarely wager on. I'm putting my money on them, -6.5 at the Patriots. Those are our locks of the week. As always, bet with your head, not over it. Brian, should we get to our stories of the week?
Fuck yes.
All right. As you know, these are the stories that we pull. We like to make sure we get them on the air. We don't miss them. We want to bring these to you. They are our stories of the week. Brian, what's your story of the week this week?
You know that I backed the blue. I am a huge supporter of the police department. Whenever anything happens, I sit there and I support my local law enforcement. Unfortunately, this past week in Long Island, a police officer and school teacher, who the police officer also is a phys ed teacher now, Stephen Airy. He was repeatedly named Cop of the Month. Apparently was arrested this past week for moonlighting as a pimp in a Long Island prostitution ring. Steve Airy and George Trimig. I practiced this name earlier this afternoon. I practiced it. Trimigliosi. That's it. George
Tremigliosi.
Tremigliosi. That's it. Tremigliosi. They worked as managers at a Holbrook, Long Island brothel that was named American Girls Spa. Apparently, these two guys were collecting the so-called house fees from the sex workers. They were hiring prostitutes and posting ads online to entice Johns, according to a recently unsealed indictment in a Suffolk County court. Ari, who is the phys ed teacher, worked in Islip for over 26 years. People, it's the school teachers you got to worry about. And Tremigliosi, who served as a Suffolk County Police Department cop for 18 years. Tremigliosi once abandoned his police post in 2021 and jetted off at near 90 miles an hour speeds to intervene at the Holbrook brothel when a customer had been robbed. Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney said, "It is a sad day in law enforcement when a public servant is arrested." A near 5-year investigation Now, why? I'm not going to sit there and say that the prosecutor was taking their time on this case, but a 5-year investigation found that the two men worked for the prostitution ring, which was run by Frank Saggio, 60, who allegedly had sex workers who couldn't read or speak English sign "quote unquote" leases requiring them to pay up to $12,000 to work at his various brothels. A dark day in Long Island, people, thing that we would never have thought of would happen in Long Island.
Strong Island, as some people will call it.
Yes. Listen, we don't body shame here, Janelle. You don't sit there and say somebody looks like a monster.
I think that says mobster, not monster.
No, they are monsters. They look like monsters. Ron,
Ugh.
of the week?
So my story of the week, your neck of the woods, Brian, in New Jersey, a TikToker who apparently got a little confused with the flags of the world. This TikToker right here, she goes by the name Ambamelia, and she was shooting a video of her tearing down flags outside of a New Jersey restaurant because she thought they were the Israeli flags. So she was tearing them down, calling them, saying that they supported genocide and the bombing of Gaza and the killing of children. As it turned out, they were Greek flags because it was a Greek restaurant.
Amazing.
The video, like she's literally like tearing all these flags down, streamers outside this restaurant. People in the restaurant are like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Genocide, bombing, whatever. And afterwards, she was like, oh, I mistakenly thought the flag was Greek for Israel and took the restaurant's flags down.
Did she realize it when she was? Did she realize it when she was after tearing it down, or was it a separate post that she made?
Well, so she was tearing it down, and she's yelling like, "Free Palestine, bitch! You know there's a genocide. I don't stand for Zionism in Montclair." And finally, a couple of staff members are like, "That's the Greek flag. We're Greek." She was like, "Oh, I thought it was Israel. My bad."
So that all takes place at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable. That's awesome. I hope she's facing a high amount of ridicule.
Oh yeah, it's been viewed 3.2 million times. The funny thing is this apparently happened back in March. So not quite sure why this is going viral now, but it's funny, like why you would choose to post that clip. Like,
sure.
It wasn't like she was streaming live at that point. She recorded it, realized that she had screwed up, and yet still, here some 7 months later, decide to put it up on the TikTok.
Unbelievable. I love it. Yeah, that's just narcissism. That is just the online. Is that even when you look foolish, you've got people that still just feel like, oh, I'm posting this. I want some clicks. Got to get the likes.
That's the thing. I think people realize there is no such thing as bad publicity.
Sure.
Janelle, imagine standing for something and not knowing what flag represent what country. I mean, it's very true. Like, I get that they're the same colors, but I don't think the Greek flag looks that similar to the Israeli flag. I feel like you should be able to.
But doesn't the Israeli flag have the Star of David in the center of it?
It does, yes. Whereas the Greek flag has a cross in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, it's just wild.
Brian, I know you are a fan of Mickey D's, just as you are a fan of Donald Trump. So today, you got to visualize both things as Donald Trump made a stop on the campaign trail, supposedly working a shift as a fry cooker at McDonald's. Here is a photo, which, as you pointed out, Brian, looks like it's AI, but is actually the 45th president of the United States in a drive-through window at McDonald's. There's some other photos of him working the fry cooker. Apparently, and I didn't even make this connotation. Like, this is how poor the messaging was on this stunt. Like apparently it was an effort to like kind of slam Kamala Harris over her stating she worked at McDonald's when she was in college. Wasn't quite sure how that. Yeah, so apparently, like they mentioned that in the article. I was like, oh, I'm like, I didn't even get that from this stunt that they did.
That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. But what was interesting is this entire thing was a photo op because, as it turns out, the restaurant was not actually open at the time that that President Trump was there. After these photos started coming out, this photo also went viral. This is from the owner of the McDonald's, which is in Feasterville, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia. And it says, "Dear Feasterville community, we plan to be closed on Sunday, October 20 until 4 p.m. to accommodate a visit at the request of former President Trump and his campaign. While we are not a political organization, we proudly open our doors to everyone. And as a locally owned and operated location, this visit provides a unique opportunity to shine a light on the positive impact of small business here in Feasterville." And that was signed by the owner, Derek Gia. Oh, this word. Why did I get this name? Derek Giacomatonio.
An Italian.
Listen, there are Italian names, and then there are Italian names. That is an Italian name.
Chris Saletti feels attacked.
So do you think it makes a difference that the restaurant was not actually operational while he was pretending to be a McDonald's worker?
I just think that it adds a certain level of I think misdirection is not necessarily the right phrase, but this is an attempt to show him as like Mr. Everyman who's in touch with the people. But then he's afraid to be interacting with people when you think about it, because he's asking for the McDonald's to be closed so he can go there. Like he could go just show up to a McDonald's like a regular citizen and place an order. I mean, we do we do know he loves fast food.
Listen, Bill Clinton used to stop at McDonald's all the time when he was running for president. Like so much so they made fun of him for it on Saturday Night Live.
Well, that clip, the Phil Hartman bit on Saturday Night Live. Do you remember that one? Is that what you were talking about?
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So it's Phil Hartman shows up to a McDonald's, or I think it was a McDonald's, and he literally just starts taking people's food while talking to them, and he just like now imagine inflation. Here, these fries, and he's just shoving food in his fries.
Imagine this Big Mac is the defense budget. We're gonna take a bite out of that budget, and this apple pie right here.
I haven't seen that in a long time. That is a great clip, but it's very strange because Trump's campaign is I want to say being poorly managed, but it's just they really don't seem to have like a real messaging. The messaging just seems to be, hey, listen, it's Trump. You want to vote for him again. You would think that with the economy, obviously economy is doing a lot better now than it was, say, 18 months ago.
Right.
He's lost the ability to run against Joe Biden. In fact, I read earlier this week that he was ranting at one of his rallies that that Kamala should step back, or Kamala should step back and let Joe Biden back in and run the race. that Joe Biden should be running again. But you would think that he would be running real hard on the economy, and he would be running real hard on immigration. I think those are just two topics that I think would really be able to cement the fact that you're looking at potentially 4 more years of things that are not going well right now. Instead, it just feels like his campaign is just kind of like, let's just shove him in front of a microphone and let him ramble for an hour and a half. They had a town hall. I think it was this week.
It was a few days ago.
It was supposed to be 1 hour of Donald Trump taking questions from people. And at the 39-minute mark, he just says to his co-host or whomever was working it, you know what, let's people had enough about these questions. Let's play some music. Let's put on some beautiful. Then he made everyone just sit there for 21 minutes while music was playing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's so bizarre.
Play Luciano Pavarotti doing Ave Maria. Play
some Ave
YMCA.
Maria.
Play it now.
Unbelievable. Then the other one was, I think he did another town hall. I think it was Univision, where he just started ranting about immigration to like not a cohesive argument about it, but it was just unbelievable.
But the funny thing is, I mean, he has more support from the Latino community this election. He's not going to carry Latino votes, but the gap of the Latino vote between him and Kamala is less than it's been in the last like 5 or 6 presidential elections.
I believe
Republican
that
versus Democrat. So it's, I mean, in listening to some of Latinos talk about why they're supporting Trump, it seems like Latinos a Latino that has come to this country and has gone through the immigration system, especially dislikes anyone that has tried to not go through that system.
Correct.
And that is a base that he seems to have really worked on. So maybe it's not crazy. I mean, it's still crazy, but maybe it's not as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah, I know. It's wild to me. Utterly
Brian,
wild. Yes.
You work in the world of human resources. So whenever I see an HR type story, I like to kind of throw that onto the feed. And this week we're going over to Britain, which you do every few weeks, which is why
I love Britain. I love going over there. I feel welcome.
There was a British woman by the name of Karen Conigan. She tried to sue her former employer, the International Airlines Group, after her coworkers didn't give her a farewell card when she left the company. Brian, do you have to do that when people leave, either by their own decisions or you're just kicking them out the door? Do you do cards and things like that at the office?
No, there have been the current place I've worked. There have been a couple times where we've had like a farewell lunch for somebody who's been with the company for a particularly long time. But in most cases, at least employers that I've worked for over the years, there is a sense of bitterness usually when somebody resigns, you see a lot of unofficial shunning. That happens. It's kind of just like, oh, you're quitting, you're leaving us, rather than, let's get a cake and pass along a card to wish you good luck. No, we don't do that very often here.
Well, so she apparently was very hurt by this. She argued that not receiving a farewell card was a breach of equality law and that it reflected a failure to acknowledge her existence within the company. As it turned out, though, the company reported that a farewell card was purchased for her. It was just never given to her because so few people wanted to sign it. So apparently not overly popular at the office. And that's kind of how the judge saw it. The tribunal's judge, Kevin Palmer, said that giving her the card would have been more insulting than not presenting it to her at all, because it would have, emphasized how few people wanted to sign it. There were other more serious complaints in the case, 40 of them in total, including claims of sexual harassment, unfair dismissal, and victimization. But the tribunal dismissed all of the allegations, with Judge Palmer saying Karen's perspective on her workplace experience was clouded by a, quote, conspiracy theory mentality. He said that a lot of her complaints, which she details in her filing, amount to nothing more than misunderstandings of normal social interactions. For instance, she said that she used the word whiz in a card for a colleague, then says that another colleague then copied her use of the word while simultaneously correcting her spelling to add another Z at the end of the word. This apparently was part of the lawsuit. He ultimately, the judge decided there was no evidence linking her grievances to her sex and that she was just being overly suspicious.
So bizarre. That is so bizarre to me. Like, listen, we've talked about this immensely over the years. It's just,
Sure.
it's just the amount of frivolous lawsuits that that have clogged our legal system. And the level of behavior that people have taken in steps to avoid lawsuits and whatnot. But to sit there and not get a farewell card and react to it by saying, I'm going to sue because I'm being treated differently. Just unbelievable. Just so wild.
Right. In other news, Brian, again, you're this world traveler. When I find travel stories, I try and pull those out as well. I try and give you your voice, Brian. I want to make sure that you are heard. A female flyer experienced a very unique situation when she watched her seatmate eat a can of tuna while in the air. She detailed this in a TikTok video with over 1.2 million views. The TikToker named Allie was reportedly flying from Anchorage, Alaska to Seattle, Washington, when her neighbor opened a can of tuna 10 minutes into the flight. She says in the video, quote, I catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, that better not be what I think it is. The ensuring footage shows the can of Bumblebee seafood tuna open on the man's tray table. All the while, recordings of a man swearing are playing in the background, apparently due to the smell of the tuna.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
So,
Tuna.
So if you were on a flight, Brian, and someone cracked open a pouch, a can, whatever, of tuna, like, again, we talk so often in the past about the social contract that society used to have. Like, it should just feel like, you open up tuna, like there are just certain scents that people are just very, it's not universal that people are going to like that scent.
How do you politely, like going back to my beef of the week, how do you politely say to somebody that tuna smells bad and you should not have opened up on this plane? Like, the only thing I can think of is turning my head and be like, you really gonna eat that fucking tuna right now? Like, and that's what I want to say to that person right then and there. Right.
Like, it literally is the kind of thing where the only thing you can do is just turn to them and be like, really? That's what you decide to bring it. Like, again, if it was, you were mentioning on your train ride back from Philly today, someone had a tuna sandwich, right?
You could smell it. They sell it on Amtrak. Why do they smell it on Amtrak? I don't know. But somebody was eating a tuna sandwich. It wasn't near me, but as I was walking through the train to go from one car to the next, I just smelled tuna.
But at least
not a good smell. It's not a good smell.
At least it was in a sandwich format. Like, if you're literally just taking a tin of tuna and cracking it open, I feel like you're doing it just to annoy people.
What are you doing with all that juice? Are you drinking it? Oh. Now you got like a can of like okay. First off, the other one is anybody who has tuna in oil. I do not understand. I don't understand. I've accidentally purchased tuna in oil, and just you don't even, first off, you don't need to even put mayonnaise in there to make a tuna salad. It's already halfway there. But you can just feel it. It just slides. It's so slimy and gross.
You're grossing me out just listening about it.
But on the flip side, if you're getting tuna with water, you're eating it with a fork, I'm assuming. What are you doing with the water? Are you drinking it afterwards, straight out of the can? It's just, I have so many questions as a result. What's going on with my shirt right here? It's like a white stain. I don't see it.
It looks like it's staying on camera. Maybe it's a sweat stain. I mean,
no, the sweat stains would be here. I don't have shirts with stain.
Well, let's go back to the world of sports a little bit, Brian. Tonight, Game 5 of the WNBA Finals taking place right there in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. In the middle of the second quarter, Minnesota up 26-18. But while the WNBA is getting sellout crowds for this final round, the league's owners will not be making a return on their investment for the foreseeable future, apparently. The NBA owns nearly 60% of the league. When one combines the NBA owners' personal stakes in WNBA teams and the WNBA itself, the amount rises to 75%. And team owners have invested hundreds of millions into the WNBA since its 1996 formation. One NBA team executive told the New York Post, quote, "The WNBA owes the NBA so much, we won't see any windfall for years." This season, the WNBA will lose $40 million, which is better than the $50 million forecasted and reported, but still a loss. Starting in the 2026 season, the WNBA will get up to $2.2 billion over 11 years as part of the new basketball media contract. So that means at least $100 million annual increase from what the WNBA currently makes from national media contracts, which is around $60 million. The WNBA is also set to expand its regular season and playoff schedule to generate more revenue. However, the players are expected to opt out of their current collective bargaining contract by November 1st. If they do, obviously that means salaries are likely to rise, which would eat into that potential profit by 2026. And we kind of talked about that. We talked about, Caitlin Clark, her rookie contract was $75,000. Sure. She made more money on NIL deals in college than she did in the WNBA. And she definitely, if there's anyone you can point to, and even Angel Reese, I mean, I think there was a few players in this rookie season that, while you can talk about how their performance was, they put people in seats. So it feels like they should have earned more than the money that they were paid. But you have to wonder, how long is the NBA going to fund this?
I'm going to say forever, in perpetuity. I believe that the PR nightmare that the NBA would face if they were to fold the WNBA would be so strong that I believe that the monies that they are putting into the WNBA is probably treated right now as the price of doing business. I mean, no offense, these are all billionaires. We're not like them losing a collectively. These individuals losing $40 million in a year is a fraction of the amount of money they're making in the NBA. Let alone how much money these individuals are worth from the incomes they have in whatever industries and investments and real estate and whatnot. That to me, this is not a lot of money for them.
Well, and it's also, I mean, you have to imagine it's probably a pretty good tax write-off for them as well.
Yeah, and honestly, let's be brutally honest. This is the first year when you are watching WNBA highlights, and you know me, I like to wake up, have a cup of coffee, and spend the first 28 minutes of my day watching WNBA highlight. This is the first year where you're actually seeing dense crowd sizes. Right. In previous years, it was it looked like there were a couple of hundred people at a game. In a regular full size American arena. This year, you're looking at when they do that classic camera pullback from one side of the court to the other, and you can see the crowd. It's crowded. This year, there are actually the attendance numbers. They are the ladies that are playing in this year. Like you mentioned, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese's, Cameron Brinks, I believe was the young lady's name, who did not get the number of points I needed, lost a parlay, and vowed never to bet on WNBA again. I think I was 0 for 8 on my WNBA picks. It was painful this year. They are selling tickets. God bless them. I think it's awesome. But I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine the NBA sitting there saying, "You know what? We're just folding this league, and we don't care what people will think of us."
Right. Quick question for you. When you mentioned you watch, I think it was 28 minutes of
28
WNBA
minutes.
highlights.
Yes. Yes.
How many minutes of that was Angel Reese missing layups?
There's a 7-minute video on YouTube. When I go to the bathroom, I like to start the video when I sit down. That way, I know I have 7 minutes to squeeze out a small dry turd before hemorrhoids will continue to develop.
That is the one thing that was kind of funny about the season is I believe Angel Reese set like a rookie record for rebounds. But people mentioned that she would miss 4 shots in a row and get 5 rebounds. So
and she would get her own rebound.
Yeah, she would get her own rebound. We also have a story following the Ravens Commanders game last weekend, where apparently a guy decided to go out. The game was in Baltimore. This guy decided to go find some Washington Commanders fans to assault for some reason. And there was a video that went around on Twitter. This guy, he was in a Lamar Jackson jersey.
Mm-hmm.
He approaches 2 Commanders fans and basically, beats up one of them, punches another one, throws him into a wall, and yells out, "I don't lose. I don't fucking lose." Well, apparently he was wrong. He did lose a lot of things. This is the photo of the gentleman. His name is Jack Callis. They found out that he works for an insurance group, or did, because he was fired from that job. The insurance company got apparently nonstop calls and emails from thousands of people. They put out an announcement that he was no longer employed there. A warrant was issued for his arrest. And some people have also said that his girlfriend has broken up with him too. Haven't been able to confirm that, but he is going to be dealing with some legal issues.
Good.
And, it was just funny because he took his LinkedIn profile down. He took his social media down. The internet just is like a dog with a bone. They found out like where he went to high school, where he went to college.
Sure.
And so every organization out there that had any type of tie to this guy like started to like delete him from their websites.
Sure.
Good.
Sure.
Piece of crap.
This is what I don't understand. I do not understand. And listen, every Monday we watch videos on Barstool Sports or Bleacher Report of football fans fighting in the stadium. I mean, it's every Monday during the NFL. What is it about American sports that causes people to want to beat each other up at a sporting event? Like this guy literally is walking down the street looking for people who are wearing the another team's jersey so that he can start a fight and physically attack them. I don't get it. I just don't understand that mindset.
It's again, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover, Brian. You know this.
Sure, of course you are.
This face is our meal ticket. I can't afford to have anything potentially happen to that.
Yes,
but I don't get like I've been pissed off. Like, I was pissed off after when the Yankees lost the game to the Commanders or to the Guardians the other night.
Sure.
But I didn't want to go out and have a fight. And this guy's team won, and he wanted to go out and have a fight.
Yes. Janelle makes a good point. Don't people get beat up at soccer games overseas? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Some more information that people pulled up about this guy, Jack Callis. He was on probation already for a misdemeanor assault. He apparently put his genitalia on a special needs student when he was in high school.
Oh, no.
He was kicked out of high school for wearing a Freddie Gray costume, which I don't know what that is a reference to.
Freddie Gray was the African-American male that got killed in Baltimore. By the police.
Well, apparently he decided to wear a costume of that to high school.
Unbelievable.
And also, he also sent an explicit Snapchat to a girl in college who printed it and hung it all over the dorms as she alleges that he raped her. Just a real winner right there. So
unbelievable.
Does it say here what he's being charged with? Let me scan this real quick.
I would imagine it's some kind of assault. It has to be some kind of assault.
Yeah, you would think.
Come on, Ron.
Apparently, they are also charging him with attempted homicide due to him throwing the guy head first into a brick wall.
Jeez.
They're gonna throw everything they can at this guy and see what sticks. And I don't have any sympathy for him whatsoever.
I'm good with that. I am absolutely good with that. No sympathy.
The only person I think who had a worse week than Jack Callis was former Hamas leader Brian. You like this story. You are a warmonger, I think at best. But tell us what Israel was celebrating for after this attack against the Hamas leader.
You don't want to read his name. Is that the case?
I have stumbled over
is that why you're
name.
throwing?
A little bit. I'm punting on this one. I am.
I'm going to pronounce it as Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas leader who Israel had identified as being the mastermind behind the October 7th terror attacks that killed over 1,000 Israelis a little bit over a year ago. He was confirmed to have died during I don't want to say a missile attack or bomb attack, whatnot. Israeli defense forces were in Gaza, I think so, when they got into a fierce gunfight with some Palestinians. They sent a drone in to ascertain what was going on in the building. They identified there was one of the terrorists that was still alive. Did not know exactly who it was yet. Sent in I think a missile to take out the building. As they were going through the rubble to try to understand who they had just killed, the Israeli forces determined that they believed that they had killed this Hamas leader. DNA tests were immediately taken, and it was proven. We're going to get flagged again by Facebook for showing corpses. Oh, well. Ron, what is it about showing corpses that you like? Like, I love the fact that in this photo, which I think we got off the New York Post, the faces of the Israelis here have been digitally altered, blurred out, but you can see this corpse without, just pure, nothing done. But that is Yahya Sinwar. I don't want to offend anyone. Try to get the pronunciation as tight as I could.
And I believe they found him. Well, I don't know that they knew it was him, but they were using a drone, and they saw that he was sitting in a bombed out building, so they bombed it out some more and completed the task.
Well, you would too if you have the amount of weaponry that the American industrial military complex will send over to you and sell to your country.
There you go. Brian, we are going to go to Missouri. Well, real quick, Brian.
Missouri.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. When you were a kid, did your dad ever kind of sit you in his lap, let you drive the car when you were a kid? Or what was the first time you remember getting behind the wheel?
I was 20. I think I was like 30 in Florida.
Sorry. And
I crashed the car. And I did crash the car. Did you forget who you were talking to?
That's right. Yeah, you did crash it at the age of 30. Well, so in Missouri, a school bus driver in the independent school district allowed a 7-year-old girl named Alana Sheffin to drive a school bus. Shockingly enough, got into an accident. Her mother, Ambrosia Holt, said, I'm not quite sure why this happened, but apparently the bus driver had been giving students instructions on what to do if she were to have a medical emergency. Kind of makes some sense. Like, showed them how to operate the door, showed them how to open the windows, and then said, okay, well, you got to learn how to drive the bus. And so apparently no one volunteered to drive the bus. So the bus driver called on the young girl. She got it to go backwards, pressed on the gas button, and it stopped out of nowhere. And then they hit the back of the bus, another bus in front of them. So
Unbelievable.
just, crazy stuff that is.
Why would
but it's
you?
Missouri.
It's listen. That might be legal in Missouri now that I think about it. That may not be there may not be anything wrong with that.
Brian, you and I, we both live you live in an ivory tower. I live in a humble
Yes.
abode. But we both have those little robot vacuums that
Sure.
drive around, clean stuff up for us. Apparently, someone has been hacking robot vacuums. You are our senior gadget correspondent here at the Ron and Brian podcast. Tell us what's going on there.
Ron, it is a wild week listen, the vacuum industry has not really produced a lot of amazing fodder for this podcast in the 23 years that we have been doing this show. However, this past week, apparently, the Chinese made Ecovacs D-Bot X2s, a brand that is manufactured in China and then sold worldwide. Earlier, I think this took place this week, or it was a lawsuit that was filed, I believe. U.S. homeowners were shocked when their Chinese-made robot vacuums were hijacked, hacked, and rewired to bombard them with racial slurs. Minnesota lawyer Daniel Swenson said he was watching TV in May when his robo-vacuum started to emit sounds that initially sounded like a broken up radio signal. He said that, afterwards he could hear snippets of maybe a voice after he discovered on the Vax app that a stranger had commandeered the automated vacuum's live camera feed and remote control function. And then apparently the vacuum started screaming the F word over and over again, followed by the N word repeatedly. He had to reset his password. He rebooted his D-Bot and sat down with his wife and 13-year-old. And then just, suddenly again, it got hacked again, and it started to unleash a string of obscenities. So people, be careful if you have one of these.
Are you saying
I never go off brand, so I got the RoboVac
we go Roomba. I mean, I think it's
the Roomba's the brand.
to get the right one.
But
Brian,
have you named your robot?
Well, they are both named. Yeah, we have one downstairs, one upstairs. Downstairs is Beast 1, upstairs is Beast 2.
Ooh, I like that.
My lovely bride named them. So
she does a very good job. We call ours Little Buddy. So come on, little buddy, come on, go, just get out from underneath the couch, little buddy, and it's just like as it slides out.
Before we run out of time, Brian,
sure.
We've got to get to one of our more popular segments here on the Ron and Brian podcast. But the drag queens are the problem. It's a talking point of the right that drag queens in schools and libraries and things like that are the worst thing to happen. We have yet to really find anything, but I am sure one of these stories that we have today will involve a drag queen. So let's look at this one. It is out in California. And no, unfortunately, this is a staffer at a California Christian school, specifically Valley Christian High School in San Jose. This is Todd Baldwin, age 44. He was the facilities director as well as a teaching assistant and a sports coach. He apparently paid underage students thousands to create child porn with one shoot in his school office and then sold it online along with their used underwear. He even bought one 17-year-old girl a ring light to improve the quality of his illegal content and then gave the teen a pair of underwear, which he also sold online once they were used. Great comment, Janelle. Does look like Louis C.K. Baldwin first offered a 17-year-old. It's not funny, but just He offered a student money to take sexually explicit videos and photos of himself when the teen asked if he knew of any jobs around campus. Like, how does that conversation? Hey, Mr. Baldwin. I'm looking for like work. You know, like Burger King's hiring.
Yeah.
You can work at Burger King, or you could take photos of my dick. What do you think of that?
What a scumbag.
The teen later told cops that Baldwin got him to pose naked in sexual positions during a shoot in his office. He then sold the porn on Reddit and paid the boy $4,265 from the proceeds. The boy, identified as minor boy one in the complaint, told a 16-year-old friend about his arrangement with Baldwin in 2023, who then started to work for Baldwin as well. So tips eventually started to flow into the police because of 4 students eventually involved. A review of Baldwin's Venmo and email accounts revealed images, videos, and suspicious payments with at least 3 other minor boys. Baldwin has been charged with 2 counts of enticing a minor, with other charges expected to follow. He was placed on leave from Valley Christian when the investigation got underway last year and is no longer on staff at the school. That is
Creepy.
one of the more disturbing stories. I think we have one more here. Matt, can you pull that up? Put it on my screen, Matt. Thank you for that, Matt. Matt is on point this week, and I just say the rehab lately, he's doing well.
Yeah.
So this has to be a drag queen involved here, and nope, this involves a corrections officer at a juvenile facility in Washington. This is Michelle Goodman. Allegedly groomed an inmate and forced him to record their sexual rendezvous, fearing the sexual deviant would punish or harm him if he refused. She was arrested on Wednesday for convincing the inmate to record their sexual trysts in the Green Hill School in Chehalis, California, a state-run rehabilitation center. Prosecutors said that the alleged sexual predator was captured on surveillance footage, taking the victim to a staff locker area in the facility on 2 separate occasions in January 2024. Police launched their investigation after receiving reports that a female correctional officer was involved with a male inmate. So she has been arrested, and let's see, what are the charges? Does not list the charges, but again, why do so many corrections officers get involved with the inmates?
I think it's a power dynamic.
You may have something there. That may be one of the most brilliant statements you've made on this podcast.
That's ever since I've told you that I love you, you're just full of compliments towards me. Aww.
Let's see. We covered
I think we would be.
We usually don't get to this many stories, so we've done well.
I feel like we do have to maybe not have a moment of silence, but I think we would be remiss if we did not mention former One Direction singer Liam Payne passing away earlier this week at the ripe old age of 31. Whether he jumped or fell off of a third-story balcony in his hotel in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's just sad news. Seemed like he had a little bit of a drug problem.
Well, he had talked about his substance abuse addictions. He had gone through rehab in the past. Matt, I know you can relate to this. Matt's been very shaken up about this all week. Matt is here with me. He does travel with me. He carries my bags, and it helps me keep him clean. According to photos purportedly from his hotel room, shows drugs, shows alcohol. There had been a 911 call to the police shortly before the accident, stating that a a hotel guest was on drugs and alcohol. He was in a room with a balcony. They were concerned that he might hurt himself. And that most certainly happened. And police feel that he was alone at the time. They don't feel it was a suicide. They feel that it probably was just an accidental death. But to your point, 31, way too young to go.
Yeah, that's a shame.
What else do we have? I mean, I think the only thing we can do is plug the Patreon. We tell you to go to ronandbrianpodcast.com to click in the upper right-hand corner to become a patron. So much great stuff. I mean, it supports the podcast. Like, we don't really put this money in our pockets. We put it back into the product. We're using podcast funds to pay for my luxurious hotel stay here.
Sure.
But what you get out of it is so much more. You get some swag, sure, but if you're at the $10 level or higher, you can join us on After Dark. That is still going to take place tonight, even though I am on the road. And again, I feel it is important to continue tradition even while traveling. So we will have the After Dark tonight in about 25 minutes. It is those saucy stories, the stories that a little too hot for free. Again, we're gonna get the warning on Facebook because we did show a dead body. But this is stuff that even more would get us kicked off of Facebook.
Sure. It's going to be wild. And the other thing is this: you are helping offset some of the costs that Ron and I incur. We will always have at least 1 hour of free content for anybody that wants it. That's important to Ron and I. However, this show is not free to put on. There are costs associated for it. Ron and I sat there and said, how do we charge for this? And we're like, no. We don't want to charge. We want it to be free to the world. So what do? We give our Patreon subscribers 30 minutes of bonus material. We call it After Dark, but for you, it's gold. Sometimes we get personal. Sometimes, it's not always saucy. It's not always sexy. No. Sometimes it's just personal. We get a little bit more honest. And I cry often. I've been known to.
Often, yes.
We're going to be doing that in 24 minutes. So if you are watching this live right now on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, somewhere else, you still got time. Go to patreon.com. Click the link. We have on our website right now. Join the Patreon. 24 minutes. You're going to have a link that takes you to this week's episode that we will be recording live. 23 minutes.
Speaking of Mark Zuckerberg, have you seen the thirst trap photo of Mark Zuckerberg that is going around the internet?
No.
So I'll put this photo up. It shows him next to how we remember Mark Zuckerberg. So apparently the hairdo is real. Apparently he was showing an example of Meta AI that added the fake beard. But apparently people are a fan of Mark Zuckerberg with some facial hair.
Well, I think he's going through his bro phase. I think, he was always seen as this kind of like weird robotic dude. He's married, he's got kids, and I think he's just embracing this new side of himself.
Yeah. Listen, we had to shave our beards off when we grew them during the pandemic because it was too distracting for people because we were too handsome with the facial hair. So we of all people can understand why that is so dangerous. You just can't walk around with a thick patch of hair on your face. Real quick before we wrap up, Brian, New York down by 7 at halftime in the WNBA finals. Jets up 7-3 against the Steelers.
No way.
Dodgers up 2-1 in the top of the third against the Mets. But the Mets have men on first and second with 1 out. But can we give kudos to those New York Yankees for finishing it out last night? With the 3-run home run last night in the 10th inning, winning Game 5, winning the series 4-1. And as you said earlier today, just amping up our anxiety levels because now we have to watch more baseball. And I am already resigned to the fact that we're probably not playing good enough to beat a Dodgers team that is playing at full speed. But we'll try and keep the faith, I guess.
Sure. Listen, we beat the Royals. The Guardians are the second best record in the American League. We beat them 3-1. I have a little faith in the Bronx Bombers. We've taken two decent teams and stifled their ability to look good in the playoffs. There's nothing that says we cannot win 4 games from the LA Dodgers. That is assuming that the Dodgers hold on to this lead and make the World Series themselves. The New York Mets they are the comeback darlings of this playoff season.
Look, so like Dodgers would have home field in the World Series, right? They had a better record, if I remember.
I don't know. I miss when the All-Star game determined who was going to have. That was a nice little a gap in time. It made the All-Star game have meaning, which it doesn't have anymore.
All right. Well, Brian, I think
let's
episode
do this.
326 has been awesome.
In the bag.
Thank you for returning. Thank you for returning to the country to do another live episode. So we are going to cut out of here. Anything else from me, Brian, before we leave?
I love you. It was a pleasure spending this weekend with you. Let's not wait so long to do it again.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Patreon folks, we will see you in 20 minutes. Everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.